Thank you for inviting me to speak this evening. I'm here as a non-partisan participant to speak about the issue going on in our community centres and to answer any questions that you may have. The heart of this issue is the Joint Operating Agreement, which for those, we call it the JOA, that is a legally binding contract between the community centre associations and the Vancouver Parks Board. The agreement has been in place for over 40 years, and in some cases, even 50 years. The agreement, while we all acknowledge that this agreement needs to be updated, it has served our communities well and has allowed associations to create many of the great programs and services that you see in our centres across the city. All associations share a commitment to our communities based on the ideal of citizenship. Regardless of where we live, we all want to see our neighbourhoods, our broader communities, and our city flourish. We know that our collective contribution makes the city more resilient and vital. Our willing to negotiate a new joint operating agreement is long-standing and sincere. There's been an appetite to update the current agreement since 2003. Our associations have participated with Parks Board in several projects that studies that would inform a new agreement. HR matters, core services, cost sharing, just to name a few. During this decade-long process, we have repeatedly asked Parks Board to commence negotiations for a new JOA without success. Regardless of these, the current JOA remains in force and should not be disregarded or violated by either party. So why, after all the good faith attempts to come up with a new JOA, did the Parks Board stop coming to the table and instead come up with a plan that was non-negotiable or take it or leave it? We are steadfast in our belief that it's because they want control and they want the money. Our experience with Park Board over the last 3 years has been anything but satisfactory. In 2010, under the threat of 10 programmer positions being eliminated, associations gave Park Boards tens of thousands of dollars each. In fact, we think that the total amount that the community centre associations contributed to that in 2010 was $650,000. In 2011, we were told that our contribution was only temporary and that without ongoing association funding, cutbacks similar to those threatened in the previous year would be the norm. Commitments to review the administration and use of LAC and develop a cost-sharing formula for community centre operations were made but were never acted upon. The findings of the core service review created through a cooperation of associations and Parks Board together, which are really relevant in many of the present impasses we're at today, are routinely ignored. Despite legal opinions that assure us that our JOA is enforced and legally binding, associations have endured repeated violations, and in absence of a workable dispute resolution mechanism, satisfactory outcomes have been stalled by the Park Board. Before we begin negotiations, mutual trust is important. Even before the current set of negotiations with the 12 associations that have chosen to take part has begun, senior Park Board staff have assured recreation staff that the plans for implementation of the proposed agreement on July 1st were continuing as planned. Persistent misinformation is provided to the public and often to commissioners. While this may be the result of ignorance rather than a deliberate attempt to mislead, either explanation is worrisome. In the absence of trust, written commitments are imperative. The Park Board General Manager has refused to state that there is no predetermined timeline for satisfactory completion of negotiations. Only vague verbal assurances have been given that there is no predetermined financial formula. Sincere and productive negotiations must address all items at issue between parties and must be germane to a new agreement. Given our past experience, we require that these points be committed to in writing. So where are we at today? We strongly believe that this is not over yet. Public support is on our side. 67% of people polled have heard about the issue. The public are against the Park Board plan by a majority of 2-1. We will continue to rally for public consultation and ask the Park Board to share their plan and listen to the Park Board instead of ramming it down our throats. The associations that represent my Vancouver community centres will continue to hold information meetings. The next one is at Kensington Community Centre on Tuesday, March 26th. We continue to encourage people to write mayor, city councillor, and park board commissioners. Tell them that this issue will affect the way that you vote, and tell them that the plan the park board is proposing will destroy community centres as we know them today. Thank you.